Today, we uncover the 6 yogurt brands the UK should be warning about. We're exposing one of the biggest myths in British supermarkets. The idea that those so-called pre-packaged gut-healthy yogurts, the ones they market to us like superfoods, are actually good for you. Because the moment you flip those tubs around and do some digging, the truth hits you harder than the inflation. For years, millions of British shoppers, especially those trying to make a healthier choice, have been reaching for probiotic drinks, low-fat pots, 0% Greek-style tubs, Kia bottles, and fruit yogurts, thinking they're doing something good for their bodies. But what if the products that look the cleanest are actually some of the most engineered foods on the shelf? The kind of yogurts people trust the most, the ones with words like light, Greek-style, fat-free, no added sugar, gut health, organic, probiotic, are often the ones hiding the longest ingredient lists. And as not an accident, because when companies remove the fat, remove the sugar, remove the creaminess, or try to turn a watery base into a thick and indulgent dessert, they have to replace all of that with something. And once you start looking at what those replacements actually are, modified starches, stabilisers, jailing agents, sweeteners, texture enhancers, emulsifiers, flavourings, and fruit preparations that barely qualify as fruit. Suddenly, the illusion of healthy yogurt starts to collapse. These brands know exactly who they're targeting: shoppers who just want something easy on the stomach, something good for digestion, something light, something that looks simple and wholesome. But simplicity isn't what you're getting. You're getting complexity disguised as purity. So today, we're going to break down the 6 supermarket yogurts and yogurt drinks that look innocent, but once you study the fine print, you'll never fall for their labels again. Number 1. Actimel Strawberry Cultured Yogurt Drink. The product almost every household in the UK recognizes. For years, this drink has been marketed as the friendly, trustworthy little probiotic shot that supports your immune system and keeps your gut happy. Consumers see it as a safe daily habit, something gentle, good for digestion, and somehow purer than the average yogurt. The front label certainly encourages that belief with its clean colors, fruit imagery, and promises of vitamins. But once you turn the bottle around and study what's actually inside, the story shifts. After yogurt and skimmed milk, the next ingredients aren't fruit or cultures. There's sugar, liquid sugar, and dextrose. 3 separate forms of sugar placed before the strawberries even appear. And when the strawberries finally do show up, you notice they make up just 2.1% of the drink. That means nearly all the sweetness and flavor is engineered with modified starch, acidity regulators, flavorings, and fortification additives. Actimel markets itself as a health boost, but what you're actually drinking is closer to a sweetened, thickened dairy dessert. It certainly tastes that way. And if you're thinking about reaching for the 0% sugar, 0% fat version, believing that this one must surely be the cleaner, better option for your body, this is where things get interesting, because removing fat and sugar doesn't make something pure. In fact, it usually has the opposite effect. The moment they take the fat out, the creaminess disappears. The moment they take the sugar out, the flavor collapses. So the manufacturer has to rebuild everything artificially. In the 0% bottle, the ingredient list starts with yogurt, water, and skimmed milk, followed by a tiny amount of fruit, a measly 1.7% raspberry, and 0.35% cranberry. After that, the reconstruction begins. Modified starch is added to thicken the drink back up. Pectin, a stabilizer, is added to stop the watery texture you naturally get when fat is removed. Flavorings are added to mask the lack of sugar and to simulate a stronger fruit profile than the tiny puree percentages can offer. Then come the artificial sweeteners sucralose and acylphane K, used to force sweetness back into a product that no longer contains the natural sugars people associate with yogurt. So, while the regular Actimel functions as a sweetened dairy dessert with probiotic branding, the 0% version becomes something else entirely. A drink rebuilt with starches, stabilizers, sweeteners, acidity regulators, and flavor compounds, all to mimic what real homemade yogurt with fruit naturally provides. Two different bottles, but neither of them is the simple, wholesome daily health drink people believe they're buying. Number 2. Light and free strawberry Greek-style 0% fat, 0% added sugar. A product that has mastered the art of looking healthy. If you only ever saw the front of this pot, you'd think you'd found the perfect yogurt. 0% fat, 0% added sugar, Greek style, no preservatives, no artificial flavors, bright colors, natural imagery. Is the kind of packaging that instantly convinces shoppers that this is the smarter option, the cleaner option, the one that lets you enjoy yogurt without the guilt. But as always, the truth isn't on the front. It's buried in the fine print. Let's start with the most important word here, Greek style. In the UK, Greek style doesn't mean Greek. It doesn't have to be strained. It doesn't have to be thickened naturally. It doesn't have to follow any of the traditional methods that make real Greek yogurt what it is. It only needs to look like Greek yogurt. And how do you make a thin yogurt look thick when you also removed all the fat? By adding things. Inside this pot, you'll find Olof fructose, a form of added fiber used to boost sweetness and body. You'll see modified starches used to rebuild the thickness that would normally come from straining. There are stabilisers, including carrageenan, a controversial ingredient used to stop watery separation and create that firm, gel-like consistency. This isn't the natural firmness that comes from high-fat milk or traditional straining methods. It's a manufactured texture. Then you get the flavorings, not real strawberry flavor from real strawberries. Engineered flavors designed to replicate the taste of a traditional fruit yogurt without having to use much fruit. And because they remove the sugar, they have to bring in sweeteners, typically sucralose and asylum K, to force sweetness back into a pot that no longer has real sugar, real fat or real fruit to carry flavor. So, while it may look Greek, it may sound Greek, but once you study the label, you realize it's as far from real Greek yogurt as a product can get. A perfect example of marketing doing all the hefty lifting, while the ingredients tell a very different story. Number 3, Müllerite Toffee Fat-Free Yogurt. And this is a big one for the British public. For decades, this product has been pushed as the guilt-free option, the smart swap, the thing you can eat every day because it's fat-free. Many UK shoppers get persuaded, and words fat-free still carry an emotional weight. They feel safe. They feel responsible. It feels like you're choosing something better for your body. But once again, the tale of the back of the pot tells a completely different story. When you remove all that natural fat from a yogurt, you also remove the natural creaminess, thickness, and flavor. And the only way to get those qualities back is by turning it into Frankenstein food. This is where Müller becomes the perfect example of the low-fat trap. The ingredient list reveals modified maize starch, pectin, a gelling agent. Then comes the flavoring. The pot says toffee, but it's not toffee made from butter, cream, and sugar. It's toffee flavoring, a lab-created version designed to trick your taste buds into thinking you're eating something indulgent when the real ingredients aren't there. Older diet culture shoppers might remember the aspartame days, but in newer versions, you'll often see sucralose or acylfame K, both used to force sweetness back into a pot that has no real toffee and no fat to carry flavor. So, what you're left with is something that looks like a yogurt and tastes like a dessert, but is actually held together by a careful blend of starches, thickeners, flavorings, acidity regulators, colorings, and sweeteners. It's a product engineered to resemble pure homemade yogurt with a side of toffee, but remains to be nothing like it. Number 4. Activia Peach Fat-Free, No Added Sugar Gut Health Fruit Yogurt. That was a mouthful, but you wouldn't want a mouthful of this yogurt. This is a product many shoppers trust almost blindly. Activia has spent years positioning itself as the grown-up yogurt, the sensible choice, the one that's good for your digestion and gentle on your stomach. And the branding works. When people see the green pots, the word Activia, and the phrase gut health, they assume they're picking up one of the cleanest yogurts on the shelf. When you see peach on the front, you imagine fresh chunks of peach stirred into creamy yogurt. But what you're actually getting is a peach preparation, which usually includes peach puree, concentrated juice, glucose, fructose syrup, starch, and flavorings. It's not whole fruit, it's not fresh fruit. It's a blend engineered to behave like fruit, to taste like fruit, and to stick to the yogurt without watering it down. And we've already seen today, the moment you remove fat and sugar from a yogurt, you remove the very things that make yogurt taste and feel like yogurt. So you have to rebuild everything artificially. And Activia also brings in sucralose and acylfame K, two artificial sweeteners used to deliver that hit of sweetness while still allowing the pot to legally claim no added sugar. So when you put everything together, this isn't a simple peach yogurt. It's a reconstructed dessert made from fruit preparations, starches, stabilisers, fibers, sweeteners, acidity regulators, and flavouring compounds. The packaging makes it look like a wholesome, naturally gut-friendly choice, but the ingredients list tells a very different story, one of engineering, not simplicity. Number 5. Activia Kir Strawberry Gut Health Yogurt Drink. And this one is important because the word Kir carries a kind of instant health halo. Older viewers especially have heard for years that Kir is ancient, traditional, probiotic-rich, and one of the best things you can drink for your digestion. And that's true when you're talking about homemade cafe. Milk fermented slowly using cafe grains, producing a tangy, naturally fizzy drink with no added sugars and no additives. Supermarket cafe drinks are often made very differently from traditional cafe, and the difference becomes clear once you check the ingredients. The first thing you notice when you flip this bottle around is the ingredient order after milk. The second ingredient is sugar. Not cultures, not fruit, not fermented milk, sugar. And that alone tells you everything you need to know about how far this version of cafe has drifted from the real thing. Traditional cafe doesn't need sugar to be sweet. This one does because the natural fermentation process that should create flavor has been shortened, simplified, and replaced with a more commercial approach. Then you look at the fruit content. The bottle shows strawberries all over the front. Fresh, ripe, juicy strawberries. But the actual drink contains just 1% strawberry puree. 1%. The rest of the strawberry flavor is coming from flavorings, not fruit. And when you have that little fruit, you have to engineer the taste. That's where the added sugar, acidity regulators, and flavor compounds come in. They rebuild the strawberry Kaya profile artificially, giving you the impression of a fruit-rich drink without actually having to use much fruit. Next come the texture rebuilders. You'll often find modified starch added to drinks like this to give them a thicker, more velvety mouthfeel, something real cafe achieves through natural fermentation. And then there's the bigger point, the marketing. The bottle leans heavily on gut health, live cultures, and cafe tradition. But when you break down the formula, this is essentially a sweetened dairy drink with a small amount of puree, reconstructed thickness, added bacteria cultures, and engineered flavor. Number 6. Creamfield Strawberry Low-Fat Yogurt. A product that perfectly represents one of the biggest tricks in UK supermarkets. Looking simple, wholesome, and farm-fresh on the front, while being something completely different on the back. If you've ever walked through Tesco's Dare, you've seen this tub. It's charming, it's friendly, it's printed with a little cow, cottage-style house, rolling hills, and a single strawberry that looks like it was picked straight from a garden. Everything about the packaging is designed to make you feel relaxed, like this is yogurt, the way it used to be made. But the moment you see how the sausage is made, the cozy countryside illusion collapses almost immediately. Instead of just milk, cultures, and fruit, you suddenly meet a long list of supporting ingredients that have nothing to do with the farmhouse kitchen. The first red flag is the sugar content, because with low-fat yogurts, when you remove the fat, you remove the flavor. And the quickest, cheapest way to replace flavor is sugar. So instead of relying on real strawberries to create sweetness, like with homemade yogurts, they use added sugar to drive the taste instead. Cheap and cheerful for their pockets. Then you come to the fruit itself. You might expect whole pieces of strawberry or at least a high percentage of real fruit given the big strawberry on the front. But in reality, the fruit element is typically a strawberry preparation, which is a blend of puree, concentrates, coloring foods, flavorings, and stabilizers engineered to behave like fruit without actually being fruit. And this is where the contrast becomes almost comedic. The packaging tries to make you imagine local dairy farms, slow-churn yogurts, and fresh berries, but the ingredients list shows the real story. A low-cost, heavily engineered yogurt held together with sugar, starch, stabilizers, flavorings, and coloring compounds. It's the perfect example of how supermarkets rely on imagery, not ingredients, to make something look innocent. The cow on cottage are on the front, the truth is always on the back. Bonus number 7, Muller Corner Strawberry Shortcake, also known as the Crunch Corner. And to be fair, from the very beginning, this one actually does present itself as a treat. It doesn't pretend to be a gut health product. It doesn't claim to be fat-free, sugar-free, or high in protein. It openly shows crunchy bits, chocolate sprinkles, shortcake pieces, and a swirl of fruit. So, we aren't including this one because it's pretending to be something it's not. We're including it to show just how far a product with this name can drift from anything resembling homemade shortcake with yogurt, and why it should stay firmly fixed in the occasional indulgence category. When you flip the pot around, the ingredients list instantly explains why this isn't your everyday yogurt. The fruit layer. The front shows ripe strawberries, sunlit and glossy, suggesting a rich, fruity base. But inside, you don't get fresh strawberries. You get a strawberry preparation, a processed blend typically made from puree, concentrated fruit, sugar, glucose syrup, flavorings, and stabilizers. And here's something that will genuinely surprise a lot of people. There's sunflower oil in this strawberry yogurt. Yes, actual sunflower oil. We're not deep-frying yogurt, are we? Nobody making yogurt at home thinks, let me just add a splash of sunflower oil to finish it off. But in these crunchy shortcake mixes, seed oils like sunflower are used to bind the crumbs, keep them crispy, and extend shelf life. And of course, there's the yogurt itself, which is not just yogurt. It's a yogurt reinforced with stabilizers, thickeners, and flavorings to maintain texture and taste, even after sitting on a supermarket shelf for weeks. It tastes smooth and indulgent, and that mouthfeel comes from a blend of additives, not traditional dairy techniques. So yes, you can absolutely enjoy a Muller Corner once in a while. It's a dessert, and it behaves like one. Just don't treat it as a yogurt with a cute little shortcake twist. This is a multi-layered processed sweet with a yogurt theme. A nice rarity. Sure, everyday healthy snack? Absolutely not. Thanks for listening, and remember, stay aware, stay sharp, and protect your plate.